garden people. Today we're going to talk about seed starting. Now if you're in the Houston area and right now it's February 8th and our projected last frost date, which is an average frost date for the Houston area, is around March 1st. So if you're going to start seeds, pretty much right now is going to be the latest you can really get it done to really make it worth it, instead of just simply sowing in the ground or sowing them outside. But the reason why you start seeds early indoors is because the weather outside is still cold. The seeds won't germinate because they're waiting for spring, and you want to get a head start on the growing season. So this year I decided I wanted to try that because a lot of times by the time my tomatoes set their fruit and they're kind of growing the fruit, it gets really hot outside here in Houston. You know, it's extremely hot by mid-June. So I wanted to see if maybe getting an earlier head start will help. And I have a ton of seeds because I have a seed problem. So we just went nuts. I've never had a setup like this before, so this is all the research that I did that I'm going to try to pass on to you. We have this tiered, 5-tiered shelf. You see, we store extra, plates and paper towels and stuff here. So I just cleared a shelf for it, and I went to Home Depot, or this was actually Lowe's, and I bought these fluorescent light tube holders, or tube light holders here. I found that when I went to the store, this was the only one of these things that also include this kind of like, reflector shade. This is the only one that even had like a plug attached to it. Because most of the shop lights like this that are at the store, people kind of use them for their garages and stuff, so they're direct wired. So people, wired it into, their electrical grid so they can turn on a switch and it turns on. These are the only ones I found that actually you could just plug it in. If you want to, if you have time or the wherewithal, there are so many shop lights that are for sale used on Facebook Marketplace, on Craigslist, probably at a flea market. So, if you can get something like that cheap, I would recommend it. For us, for this thing, it was, I think, $17.99. This is a T8 size bracket, so that's important to know when you're buying the bulbs, that you buy the bulbs that are the right size. So these are two T8s and 4 feet long, so it fits perfectly in our shelf here. And so I got 2 of them, $17.99 each. I did a little experiment because I didn't know exactly what kind of light would work the best. And so I got 2 fluorescents here in the front, and I got 2 LEDs in the back. Light bulb wise, they're both 6500 Kelvin, which is the best approximation of the color of daylight. And then the LED was a daylight color, but for lumens, it was I had to actually research it online because it didn't even show it on the box. But it's only 1800 lumens. This fluorescent light is 3500 lumens, I believe, or at least 3000 lumens. So the more lumens, the better.
Go.
Alright, so here I have actually the box of the lighting that I bought at Lowe's. It was like all the way on the ground, like the most bottom of shelf, like on the ground to get these. But anyway, so you want to look at, so this comes fully assembled. This tells you what it requires. It requires 2 32-watt T8 bulbs. So T8 is like the size, and the wattage, of course, is the electricity that it needs or draws there. It included mounting hardware, which is to say it included these chains, and it came with 1 S-hook. So basically you would loop the chain over whatever you were hanging it from and connect it to this 1 S-hook. I went and bought additional S-hooks so that I could adjust the height of the whole lighting fixture closer and further and whatnot. And then finally, 5-foot power cord, and it comes with the reflector, which is the the whole backside apparatus there. So this was, I think, $17.99, I want to say, at Lowe's. So when I bought the light bulbs, here I have, these are the LED ones I bought. As you can see here, it's 48 inches. It says daylight, so this is why I picked it. There you go. It says 15 watt, but it replaces a 32 watt T8. So if you remember from our fixture, it was a 32 watt T8. It's telling us all the light. Oh, there's the lumens right there. 1800 lumens with a color temperature of 6500 Kelvin. So as long as this number is high, and you can find any light bulb tube of either LED or fluorescent, you should find that has a 6500K. This one can be a little bit lower than the minimum, which I've been told is 2000 lumens is pretty much the minimum. So we're just gonna see how it goes. So I wanted to compare the two, and this is just what was available at my local hardware store. I think I might have actually bought this one at Home Depot. And then the other one, where did I put it? Oh, here it is. The fluorescent lights I bought, as you can see here, it's F32, I'm not sure what that means. Ugh, I don't know anything. 48 inches, active spaces, T8. Here it has 6500 Kelvin and 2900 lumens. So it should be, it's very, very bright in the lumens area here. So I was wondering, you know, to myself, what would be better, LED or fluorescent? And the main difference that I have found between the two is that, you know, the LED is going to be better in terms of energy usage. You know, it's going to use less. But the fluorescent is nice because it gives off more heat. You know, the LED, you know, it's noticeably warmer, this fluorescent bulb over the LED. So that actually means that it warmed the soil really, really well, and that helps germination. So if you had a choice, say you had like two, I would say the fluorescent if you were only going to pick one, because it emits the heat, which helps with germination. All right, so here I turned on both lights now so that we can see everything that's going on here. I have here mostly tomatoes. You can see their little like purplish stems here. And I have here this temperature gun. And so the regular temperature of around here, our house is pretty warm right now, is 73. I don't know if you can see that. Mm. And then the lights, of course I actually had them pulled away here. But here they go. Even though I had pulled it away from the light for a few minutes, it's still at 76. So it increases the temperature of the soil, and which helps with germination, which was something I was worried about, because if you can see here in the middle, these tiny little plants, these are peppers. This is a ghost pepper, and this is called a Brazilian starfish pepper. And peppers take longer than tomatoes, you know, cucumbers, other plants to germinate. Like generally, these guys were up out of the ground within 5 or 6 days. These took over 10 days, and now we're about to hit 2 weeks, and the last few are finally coming up. And also they require more warmth. So if your goal was to grow peppers of any variety, both super hot peppers or even just regular, you know, sweet peppers, bell peppers, you're going to want to use, say, a fluorescent light or a heat mat to warm up the soil a little bit. The tomatoes, and of course cool weather crops, you know, your broccoli, your spinaches, stuff, they are totally fine with just room temperature. When we made these cells, what we did is that I just went to the store at Home Depot. They have a seed starting mix. Jiffy brand makes it, and it comes with like a little bit of fertilizer, and it's mostly just like peat moss that just, all it does is just hold moisture in. And so I sterilized it by just pouring, you know, putting a pile of that dirt into a bowl, and then pouring boiling hot water out of a pot, mixing it with the dirt. Kind of felt like an evil witch making a brew. And then, you know, let it sit there. Anyway, so Fungus gnats are kind of a problem if you're in your house, because then you don't want a bunch of eggs to suddenly hatch and have a bunch of gnats flying around your house. So I highly recommend putting the boiling hot water and mixing it in there, letting it sit for a little bit to sterilize the mix. Similarly, if you have these seed starting trays that you've used before, I recommend mixing up some bleach and water to sterilize it, just to kill off any bacteria and funguses, because the two things that are really gonna be a problem for your little baby seedlings are gonna be, first, any bugs that are eating it, which hopefully being indoors and sterilizing it, we're gonna be good, but also dampening off, which is a fungal disease. Basically, as soon as your poor little baby gets like an inch out of the ground, it will just kill the seedling. It will just eat it and kill it. So that's a problem I had a lot when I was starting my seeds outside, because I had to keep this seed starting mix so moist that of course is a perfect environment for a mold or a fungus to grow, and so that was killing off about half my seedlings. So far inside, it's been great. As you can see here, I have almost 100% germination so far on all these tomatoes. 110% here because I accidentally put 2 seeds in this one. But I'm pretty happy with it, especially with the peppers. I didn't think that the peppers were going to have 100% germination, especially since I didn't actually use a heat lamp, or a heat mat underneath to keep it warm. There's a mat right there.